Okay, now I'm going to show you the power of our material summary if you haven't used it before. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up right now. And we can see that we have a list of every material that's in the scene. Right now there's only one. This is our default scene, so we have only our default material, which is being applied to our ground plane. So let's go ahead and add in some more objects and load in some more materials, and we can see this update. I'll just leave it up there. I'm going to add a sphere and drop it. I'm going to add another sphere. I can drop that, and I'm just going to create 4 of them. And one more over here. Now we have 4 spheres, and I'm going to align our camera so we can see all 4 of them. But of course, our material summary is just showing our default material, because that's all we have in the scene. But what we can do now is go in and load different material for each of our spheres. So I'm just going to grab some random ones that we have already in our sort of material chooser. And you can see our material summary is updating as we add in these other materials. Okay, so now we have 5 materials in the scene. We have 5 of our major objects. We have our ground plane, and we also have our 4 spheres. So we have our 4 spheres and our ground plane. And now what we can do is actually adjust our different materials from the material summary. We can change the size if we want to. Let's take a look at this burned rock and lava, and we can look at the preview right here. I'll go ahead and move our camera in just so we can see that a little bit better. And now we can note the size of this overall texture. And we have our scale set to a 0.6 right now. We can see 0.6 right there. Let's go ahead and scale this down to 0.3. You can see updated 0.3 right here, and we see the material updated in the scene. So now it is smaller. So we can control all of our materials within this material summary. What we can also do, I'll show you in just a sec, is actually drag and drop materials from the material summary onto objects in the scene. Let's say we don't want this burned rock and lava on here anymore, and let's replace it with dry grass. We're not switching these materials, but we are applying. So I can click on our dry grass and continue holding down and move the mouse. And now we see we've got this plus, and as we move our mouse around and I'm still holding down the button, we see that our different spheres are being lit up. And I'm going to let go while selecting on this sphere, and it's going to change our color of it and change our material, as we can see. So now we have dry grass in here twice. And now what we can also do is edit the size of that one if we want and isolate it from the other one. But we could go ahead too and grab a different material, apply it to the other one. So now we have 2 snowies materials on there. We can go back and grab another snow and replace that dried grass, and now that no longer exists. Another thing you'll notice too is, although it might not completely update, that first object you've selected will show you which sphere you are selecting. So I hold on for a sec there. I'm still holding on to it. You see the little pop-up right here that says sphere. And that's because we have just the object name sphere selected. Let's move to the second one. And this should be a different sphere, but of course it's still saying sphere. So that is sort of a bug in this, and you'll have to watch out. But if I let go and select a different one, you'll see that sphere 2 shows up, but of course it's not showing the other ones, unfortunately. One thing you cannot change is the ground plane. Whether or not that is a bug and if it will be fixed, I'm not sure. But let's take a look and try to apply this snow to the ground plane. You'll see that the ground is showing up as being selected, but when I let go, it will not change the surface of the ground. So keep in mind, this is pretty much meant only for objects, or at least it is only working for objects at this time. But it's this very powerful little tool to have, a little pop-up window here, where we can go ahead and change the scales of our textures if we wanted to, our materials, and also drag and drop different materials onto others without having to go in, copy, and paste, and it's a good way of sorting through what's in the scene. What we also have here in our middle thing down here is a list of all of our different materials, which we can use this as well for dragging and dropping materials. So it works pretty much the same as the material summary, just going to this middle button down here and showing our materials. We can also apply those. by dragging and dropping, just as we would from the material summary. So it's kind of a neat little thing you can use, and that works for any material in the scene, and you can apply it to any object, of course, except a infinite plane.